What is up, you guys? Welcome to, I think this is like our first official podcast episode. Yeah, because we've done a couple like snack episodes, like little bite-sized episodes. This is like a real long-form one. We've actually filmed this once already, and I forgot to hit record on the other camera, so here we are.
Let's do it again.
We're gonna dive deep. Maybe the Lord was like, pump the brakes from that a little bit. We're gonna rework some stuff, but we really wanted to give an introduction to who we are, let you guys in on a little bit about our life and why we're doing this. But first and foremost, my name is Grayson, and this is my wife, Jezlyn. Tell them about yourself, babe. Introduce yourself.
I am a mother. We have 4 beautiful boys.
That's right.
My oldest is 11, and I say my because he was mine from a previous marriage. Right. Grayson has actually known him his entire life.
That's right.
We've known each other for half of my life. And so he jumped right in as stepdad on day 1 of our marriage, like jumped straight into kindergarten and all the things. And I think it was actually first grade, but our other boys are 3, 2, and almost 1. So our life is every bit of, I don't use the word chaotic anymore because I felt really convicted about that. But it is full. That's right. And intense sometimes.
Full diapers, full cars, full hearts. Everything is full.
Our minivan is loaded down with children.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have it any other way. I've
amazing.
always dreamed about a big family. And so I've always, like, to my core, am a mother. Yeah. And I love those boys with everything in me.
Yeah.
I dreamed of having a daughter for a really long time. And I do feel like the Lord has resolved that within me. Like, I'm like, you know what? I love being a boy mom.
Right.
And this is the family of my dreams.
Yeah.
And
that's
so
right.
anyway, I'm also a content creator only because he was first, and we'll get to that. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
That's right. Yeah. And I'm Grayson. I'm me. We own a business. We own a content marketing company that does social media management, videography, photography, graphic podcast production, all the things, which was birthed out of our own social medias.
Right.
I grew up in a spirit-filled Christian evangelical house, and I was in ministry for a very long time until that all came crashing down one day, and we will definitely dive into that, which is what this whole podcast is for, to talk about our story.
Yeah.
And hope it doesn't fall on deaf ears, because we believe that the Lord has brought us through some incredible transformation. Our marriage has been restored. Our family, our relationship with Jesus has been restored, and not restored back to ministry or a platform or what we thought it would be. It's just been restored to Him, intimacy with the Father. And I think that's really what our goal is for this podcast, is for us to share vulnerably.
Yeah.
Talk about some heavy topics.
Yeah.
Things that we are learning, we're seeing.
Right.
And we're growing in.
Just to get candid about what we've been through, what we've walked through, what we've learned, and what we're currently going through. This is not going to be any sort of we have arrived and here's what you should know.
We have not arrived.
We've not arrived.
We are figuring this out with Jesus.
We're all in progress. But the Lord has done a massive, massive work in each of our lives individually and in our marriage, in our parenting. And so, it's going to be wonderful. He mentioned that he grew up in a spirit-filled Christian household. I grew up in a Christian household, but it was more like not spirit-filled and very strict. And we attended church every now and then. We were never really rooted in church, and that was the extent of my faith background. I was really introduced to the Lord at about 12 years old. And I do remember I was living in Austin, Texas at the time, and we were attending this huge mega church. And I loved going only because there was a Starbucks, and I thought the worship leader was cute. And
I was not the worship leader.
No, it wasn't him.
Just,
No, he was like a full-grown man. That's weird. But when you're young.
Yeah.
And that was the extent of that for me until we came to your parents' church when I was 15 years old. So
I was the worship leader with my mom there. I actually remember seeing you guys walk into the doors of the sanctuary while we were in the middle of worship.
Yeah.
And I saw this mom and her 3 girls just kind of march on in, then sit on the right-hand side or something. And I remember thinking, that family's going to be a part of my life. And I had no idea extent. Like this right here, y'all, nobody saw it coming.
When I tell you we were just friends, I mean, like, we were just truly friends, like church friends.
Yeah. I dated your sister in middle school, and like y'all were just a part of our lives.
Yeah.
Like, we did life together.
I do remember joking around though one day with my family. I think I was like 15, and I was like, if anybody is gonna marry Grayson, it's gonna be me, because we're the closest in age. But like, our families were just close. That was that kind of thing. Like, our families were close. My mom actually started working for your parents.
She became the first staff member that my parents hired.
Yes. And that was where my mom was truly transformed. Yeah. My mother, like he said, was a single mom. There was 3 of us girls. I grew up in an all-girl house. There was lots of feelings. We were, like I said, not super into church. We attended sometimes. And my mom always knew God, like, was the same. She knew the truths about the Lord, but did not know the Lord's heart and did not know him personally, I would say, until I was in high school. And she was really transformed at your parents' church. And of course, she drug us along. So I was an angry little teenager whose parents divorced when I was 9. My mom whisked us away to Austin, Texas, to get us away from a really bad situation between my parents. I watched some really traumatic things unfold in my family when I was very young, and it affected me into adulthood. And I, like I said, I was just an angry little 15-year-old girl who wanted absolutely nothing to do with the church. Like, when his dad talks about the early days of us being at their church, it was like I was in the back row, arms crossed. This is dumb. I want nothing to do with this. I'm only here because my mom works here, kind of thing. But my mom, she kept on taking me, and those seeds that were planted in my heart, she watered at home, and she saw the fruit of it. And so let that be an encouragement really, really quick to you. If you have children and you're like, I don't want to force them along, and I don't want to force their hands. No. Take them to church. Take them to church. Yes. As long as they're under your roof and in your care, it is your responsibility to make sure that church is non-negotiable. So.
I even think that that's a word for parents out there who are not making it a priority in their life.
Yeah.
I think when we were growing up, like Wednesday nights, coaches didn't do Wednesday night practices.
Yeah.
Like it was reserved, because here in our region of the States, like in the Bible Belt, we live in South Texas, like, you go to church on Wednesday nights. Yeah, it was very important. It was
a well-known fact.
Yeah, so that, like, you made room and reserved that room for the Lord and your family. And I think we've seen a major shift in church attendance and families who are a part of the church. They attend once a month, but they're not really rooted in community.
It's not like we've got to be there every week. And so obviously we don't say that to bring any sort of condemnation. I'm just telling you.
But maybe some conviction. Yeah. Get your family in church.
I'm just telling you from experience that my life was changed. Because I had a praying mother who not just prayed for me, but modeled a Christian life for me, truly laid down for the Father, and truly sold out to God, and brought me along. There was no option. She would have drugged me by my ear if I said I didn't want to go to church. And so anyway, that was kind of my upbringing. And I think I was 17 when I got pregnant with my son. I was walking the stage at high school graduation. I knew I was pregnant. Nobody else knew I was pregnant besides you, which is insane. I remember at my graduation lunch, I pulled Grayson aside and I was like, Grayson, I'm pregnant. Yeah. And he was like, no.
And I think you honestly just told me because I was kind of like the family friend who really, I was just there. Like, I think I was just like a safe person.
Yeah, we weren't really best friends at the time.
We weren't really super close, but I think you could just tell me because you knew I wasn't going to run and tell your mama or your sisters or something. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Wow.
So who knew all these years later that that baby in my tummy would be your stepson? Your bonus son.
And that relationship with you and your ex-husband, like y'all, that's a whole story in itself.
Yeah.
Like
I got married at 19. It was short-lived. We were married, I think, for 14 months, and it blew up and fell apart. And we got married because we had a child. And I know that that's a lot of people's story. It's, when you have a family like mine, they were like, you are not living together until you're married. And so I was like, well, I don't want to raise him by myself. We've got to get married. And so anyway, that's another story for another time. There has obviously been a lot of life that's happened between then and now. We have a wonderful relationship with my ex-husband.
Y'all were kids.
Yeah, we were literally children.
We're all 30 years old now.
Right.
Plus. And y'all were literal children.
Yeah.
And now, like, actually, Jaden's dad, as we're filming this, him and his fiance and
they're
Jaden,
getting married.
They're getting married. So we're just cheering them on.
Jaden officially has a stepmama.
Yeah.
So
it was incredible.
We love that for them.
So
like, we really do have a wonderful relationship,
we do.
and we'll talk about that later on. But
they're so great. But the Lord like he was just like setting the scene.
Yes.
Really,
truly.
many years ago, and it's been a bumpy ride. It's been wild, and these last 5 years of our marriage have been crazy.
Yeah.
And going from youth pastoring, traveling, preaching, like height of what people think would be your career as a pastor, whatever that is, or your career as someone online, whatever that is. Right. It all came crumbling down. Early days of our marriage, like the honeymoon bubble, starting a life together, popped.
8 weeks in.
Yeah. I think just to recap a little bit on, I don't want to dive too far into it because I really want to reserve some time each of us to share, in depth on our stories. But a little bit of our joint story together. Like I was in ministry, and while I was courting her and like getting to
I was
start
divorced,
a new
by the way.
That's right.
I was already divorced, was a single mom for a little while, and then
And the Lord showed me one day, he was like, wow, I remember the Lord showing me like, this is a relationship that I want to foster because she's going to be your wife. The Lord told me clearly.
Wow.
So I began to just pray on it, like, God, show me what to do.
I want to throw this in there. He did not share that with me.
Of course. I didn't walk up
I'm
to
just
say,
saying,
God told me
there's some Christian men that'll be like, God told me. And it's like, brother, if you don't back.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to hear that yet.
No. Why don't you reserve that one, bud? Wait a little bit. Hold it on.
So the Lord,
that's a word the Lord gives you to put in your pocket.
Right.
Sometimes people are sharing what God's told them, and it ain't the time.
And just to be clear, the Lord showed him this individually, and the Lord also showed me this individually.
Talk about that. Why don't you share about that? How did the Lord tell you that I was going to be your husband?
So I was a single mom, very young. I think I was 21 years old when I became a single mom to a 2-year-old boy. I grew up, like I said, in a strict household, and then I was married, and all of a sudden the bull was let out of its pen, and I was an adult who could make all her own decisions, who lived on her own. I was like INDEP. I was making my own money. I was paying my own bills, and I did whatever I wanted. Like I lived a life of promiscuity. I'm not, proud of that whole season of my life, but it really was part of my testimony. And so
you went from hoe to holy.
You
went from hoe to holy, and you know what? That's a testimony. That is.
Oh my God. Yeah. I was a mess. Okay. I was a mess, and I was living all for me. It was very selfish. I even like put motherhood on the back burner a little bit on the weekends. Like Monday through Friday, I was like, oh, I'm a mama. Mamacita. And then on the weekend, I was absolutely buck wild. I was at bars, and I remember the whole time I was leading worship. Okay. Like I had been baptized, I think at the age of 18, and I started to explore what it was like to serve in church. And my gifting has always been worship. I have always known that I would be singing in some capacity in the church. And so I was actively serving in the church on the worship team and going out the night before, showing up smelling like vodka and sin. And
I just smelled like sin.
I just remember.
I walked in a room.
I remember one time this girl I went to school with. I've never even shared this with her, but she'll never know how much it really altered the course of my life.
Wow.
I was at a bar on a Saturday night, and she looked at me and she said, "Don't you sing at that church?"
Wow. Wake up.
What are you doing here?
Paul.
And I was like, what am I doing here? You know, like, this is insane. I was 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And where was I going with that?
How the Lord showed
you
that I was
yeah.
going to be your husband. So this is really good. I keep rocking.
No. I'm getting there. I was 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And so I'm set all of that up to say that I had a man at my house, my apartment. I fell asleep and I had a dream about Grayson.
With another man in her bed.
It is what it is.
That's right.
I had a dream about you. And it was one of the first times that I can really recall that I heard the Lord so clearly, because I was definitely a Christian, but I was not walking out my salvation. There was no fruit of my salvation in my life. Wow. I'm going to say I was not saved, because when you are, there's fruit of that. I'm going to throw that out there.
Boom.
But
drop that one.
I had a dream about him, and I heard, first of all, the dream was he was proposing to me. And I saw him dressed in his little black skinny jeans and his black denim jacket that he always wore back then.
It was the look, y'all.
It was the worship leader special.
2010s.
With the hat.
Yeah.
And I saw him proposing to me, and I heard the Lord so clearly say that if you keep entertaining this mess that you're in, you're going to miss what I have for you.
Wow.
And I was like, wait.
Wow.
Grayson? Like,
wow.
You got to understand, we were not interested in each other like that.
Yeah. We were hanging out just with the youth,
just
with the young adults.
Friends. Yeah. And so I remember calling my best friend the next day. I was like, I had this dream about Grayson. And one thing about me, I am a prophetic dreamer. The Lord speaks to me through dreams. He always has. It's where I've experienced the most attacks in my life.
The Lord will tell on me in her dreams.
Absolutely. Oh, yes. Baby, you don't stand a chance in my dreams, because the Lord has, I swear to you, he speaks to me. And so anyway, I knew I heard from the Lord, but I was like, no way. You know, this is insane. And sure enough.
And I just want to add right here too. The Lord gave her that dream with another man in her bed. This was before she was married to me. So God ain't going to give you a dream, ladies, about another man when you're in your husband's bed and say that this is the man for you.
No.
Just want you to
No. I was
quick.
Unmarried.
If you're getting a dream about another man or woman while you're in your spouse's bed, that dream is from hell. It is not from the Lord. Okay? But this was a prophetic dream from God.
It was. And I knew it. And I didn't act on it. Of course, I didn't share that with him. And he did not share his own revelations with me. Yeah. But individually, we were being worked on. Yeah. And I definitely wouldn't say that was what led me to really lay my life down. There was a series of events. And I had come to the end of myself where I just didn't recognize who I was anymore. And it was who I was seeing in the mirror was not who I wanted to be. And I knew better. My mama raised me better. Like, I was like, this is not me. And so my salvation story really was a radical overnight transformation. One day was like, I am never doing this again. I'm never looking at this again. I'm never going out this way again. And I didn't. That's my story. I know that's not everybody's story. It's sure as heck ain't your story. But that was mine. I was very suddenly overnight. I lost friends. I had to distance myself. I had to put the drinks down for a very long time. It was a very long time before I even allowed myself to have a glass of wine. Because I had a problem.
You don't even really like wine.
I don't. And I had a problem with drinking though. And so all of those things, I never looked at pornography again. It was all very sudden and rapid for me.
Right. And it's funny because at the same time, and I've never really thought about this, but at the same time when you were leading worship and in your mess, I was leading worship and in my mess. So I
on the same team.
Yeah, we were on the same team leading worship together. I was at the peak of like exposure with social media and preaching and leading the youth group. I just got ordained as the youth pastor at 19 years old, which was really young. And I didn't have a lot of fear of God in my life, which I've learned today. Like I never had the fear of God. I was like, here I am, Lord, send me, without the fear and trembling. And I was in the middle of a horrible drug abuse and sex addiction, and I didn't realize I had a sex addiction at the time until we got some counseling and learned about what recovery was and working a recovery program. And I actually remember, like, I fell into drug addiction through pornography because I was exposed to drug use in pornography that just like took me down this dark hole that messed up my life. Messed up. My life started to get messed up long before that, but that was a catalyst for sure. That really drove me deeper into my secret sin. And
all the while, we are in a relationship.
Getting engaged.
We're getting engaged.
And I'm keeping all this.
He has an entire side of his life that I don't know about.
Yeah. That I was somehow functioning without people knowing what I was going through.
And I also want to say, because I was watching it all happen, what you were doing online was profound. And the Lord was using it. Yeah. And people's lives were being touched. And like, share more about that.
So at the time, like early 2018, 2017, I was on TikTok before. I was on Musical.ly, right? And when it became TikTok, I started posting more and sharing funny stuff, but also sharing just encouragement and faith. And I remember getting 1,000 followers on TikTok, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can go live now. And I had Periscope when live streaming was a thing. So this is all like live stream digital age like we know today. Before churches were doing live stream church to the degree they are, but like this was all pre that, right? So this is a new world that content creators, that wasn't even a term, back then, right? Influencers, like, so I was going live and sitting at my piano downtown in my apartment in Corpus Christi, and I would sit at my piano and sing worship songs and pray with people as they came through my live stream. And it started with like 10 people, then a couple dozen, and then thousands of people. And my following rose from like 1,000 followers to 2 million followers in a span of just a short time.
It was like a year.
Yeah, a year or two. And I was preaching online. Every Thursday night, I would do a church service on TikTok called TikTok Church. And then I would do like an after service on Instagram or something.
And we still get to this day like messages about that whole time in our lives and, what it meant for people.
Yeah. And I remember when COVID happened and churches were shut down, people were basically isolated for a long time. I was doing these church services, and that's when it really began to take off.
Yes.
Because people were just chronically online at that time.
Yeah.
And it was Easter 2019, and after people giving their heart, and I was giving salvation calls, they were giving their heart to Jesus. I remember like, well, we got to get these people baptized. Like they got to take that next step, right? And I did a live stream baptism service, I think on my Instagram, where I guested them on, and we had people in like Canada, England, Germany, South Africa, South America, here in the States. Just did what they had around them. They dipped their head in a sink or their shower or their pool. One girl got in her pool with her parents, and like I baptized them online, and
it was beautiful.
It was just, it felt like revival to me. And at the same time, what I was doing online, like we were doing on the ground in our city.
Yes,
we were youth pastoring and just walking alongside students who were going through some of the most traumatic things I've ever experienced. I think while we were in youth ministry, we were hit with about just everything you could be hit with, like students who got murdered, students through drug addiction, teen pregnancies, abuse, kids in the community that had an accident and car accidents, or like it was some of the hardest stuff I think I've ever walked through in ministry, but the Lord gave us grace for it, and that season was so blessed. And I was sharing earlier, like it's hard for me to look back on that season of my life, and even before we were married, our engagement and our dating life, because I was so consumed in secret sin that no one knew about, and there's like this almost this poison in it, this shadow on it that's really hard for me to reflect on, and that's probably not healthy. right? The Lord probably still needs to take me on a journey of healing through that, because there's a lot of shame tied to it, a lot of brokenness and embarrassment, because when my life blew up, everything around me blew up.
Yes.
The church I was at, my parents who were our pastors, our bosses.
We had to abandon the youth group that we were pastoring.
And
that was
everything
so hard.
Online stopped too. Like, obviously, we had to take a hard stop.
And then it was like we were seeing threads of conversations that people were having about us, and the speculation of what happened, and people trying to connect the dots. And when your life is, and I'll just throw this out there, I never asked for that. I did not want anything to do with the public life that he was living. But I very quickly figured out that that was just my own need to hide, you know? And so it was difficult being in a fishbowl and seeing like what the search comes up. You know, it's like people were trying to figure out what was going on with us because something had clearly gone on. We even were not living together for a while. And we were in the midst of pregnancies, and, you know, I think it was Augie and Asher. And so, you know, a lot has taken place in the last almost 3 years.
And it hasn't been perfect. Like, no. I did not have that just like, oh, my life's a mess. All right, turn the page and fix it. No, like I had a roller coaster of like recovery and walking through true restoration with Jesus.
And a big part of that was our new church.
Yeah. It was stepping away from being in a place of leadership and what we knew, because we could not heal where we currently were with being who we were there.
We just couldn't. There was just no way. Yeah. I mean, everybody looked to us
for leadership.
And we were always Pastor Grayson and Pastor Jezlyn. And we were like, we've got to just be Jezlyn and Grayson.
I remember I had relapsed, and I was battling with this drug addiction. I don't know if I was shooting up or what, but I had come into the church the next morning to figure out what the next steps were for us.
Yes.
And I remember a guy walking up to me, and I love him to death. He's the sweetest man, but he said, "Man, I need you to pray for me right now. I need you to pray." And I'm like,
he's literally still like coming down from a high the day before.
Yeah. And I'm like, bro, the kids pastor's
we're in the
down
thick
the
of
hall. Just go get it. He's like, "No, you need to pray for me." It's like, "No, I need you to pray for me."
So it was in that moment we looked at each other and we were like, we can't.
We have to do something
We've
different.
got to go somewhere else.
We had to go somewhere where we were nothing to no one. Mm-hmm. And my parents and the board of our church blessed it, and they understood it. And it was a hard exit, but everyone knew like this is what we needed to do for us.
Yeah.
And we found a friend who I had known for years, a pastor, that chose to walk alongside us and walk us through restoration, and not to restore us back to ministry, back to a platform, but to restore us to Jesus.
That is the key right there.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's so many ministry leaders in any sort of leadership capacity, right? They go through a hard time. They have a moral failure.
Yeah, that's code word for you cheated on your wife, you hooked up, and you're sexually immoral.
They have some sort of shortcoming, and then they are like, okay, it's kind of hush-hush. You need to go away for a year, and then you can come back. Yeah. And then it's like everything's fine, and we don't ever need to revisit. And it's that was so not. We had come to the end of being bandaged up, and then starting to be back right back to ministering. And we couldn't do that anymore. We just knew that we couldn't. And thank God that, you know, our pastors were like, we want you healing. Right. And we're not going to restore you back to a platform. We're going to restore you back to God.
Right. So we had to get low. We had to get low with the Lord, get into the secret place with him.
We didn't serve at all for like 2 years.
After like leading worship every Sunday and Wednesday
for years and years and years, being on staff. I think one of my last official roles was like worship pastor. That was like the capacity that we were serving in. Yeah. And we had to just lay it all down. Right. We had to. Yeah. There was no option to seek healing. Yeah.
And we've been at our current church for about 3 years,
almost.
And in these near 3 years, there have been highs and lows, but it has been so intentional.
Yeah.
And I can confidently say that where we are today we would not be where we are if it wasn't for the Lord breaking down everything that we thought we were, everything that I thought I was.
Yeah.
To rebuild us to who we are today and how our marriage is flourishing and thriving today. Because there are a million reasons why it shouldn't. There are a million reasons why you shouldn't be here today. Like you should have closed the chapter and walked out, but the Lord gave you a word that you held on to.
Yeah.
And the Lord gave me a word of freedom that I chased.
Yeah.
You know? And I fell a lot, but I got up and chased it still.
You did. And looking back on it, it's like, gosh, the grace that the Lord gave me is something that not everybody understands. And I know fully well
many people won't.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay with me. But I just knew, and we'll get to all of that,
right.
Later on. But I just knew that there was true and lasting freedom for you.
Right.
And I knew if I could partner with you to chase that together, that we would find it. And then, you're, being restored in recovery, you're doing wonderful. And it was like, the whole time I'm like, God, fix him. He's a mess. Okay. He is like, he needs help. So then he's getting help. And it was literally like the Lord took this finger and was just pointed it right back at my face.
No reverse card.
And I was like, oh, now he's outrunning me. And what am I doing?
Right.
And I realized how hard my heart had gotten.
Wow.
And how in a lot of ways I had reverted back to that angry teenage girl that was carrying trauma and unhealed. And I saw that in myself. Wow. I saw, how I knew? Because of the fruit in my life. I was not bearing the fruits of the Spirit. I had no patience. I was not long suffering with people. I didn't like people at all. In fact, I was like, Lord, how in the heck do we have a future in ministry? Because I know that you've told us that, but I don't even like your people.
Right.
How could I possibly, I would get to church and I didn't want people to hug me. I was hard-hearted. And I went through my own process of healing outside of literally healing from marriage trauma and things in my life. But there's obviously a lot to unpack,
right?
And we will do that. And some of it is hard to hear.
Yeah, some of it's hard to share.
Some of it is very difficult to share. But I know one thing: we knew that we did not endure what we endured. We did not learn what we learned to keep it to ourselves.
Right.
We just didn't. And we're not going to go into self-preservation mode and hiding because, the Bible verse about overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony. There's so much power behind sharing what you've been through.
Right.
And it also is a stripping away of power from naysayers and people who don't understand and people who just straight up will hate you because of it. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. That's okay with me. If we're being transparent and sharing things that we've been through, then there's not one thing that you can hold over my head.
I think it's heavy knowing the Lord has trusted us with this story, because it's a heavy story.
Yeah.
And it comes with a lot of pain and a lot of cost. And there's been a lot of cost that we've had to pour out.
A lot.
Because of this.
A lot.
And but I'm grateful that God has seen us through it. And he continues to sustain us through it.
Yeah.
To carry us for where he's taking us. And I think more than anything, if you choose to check in on what we share, what we talk about, I think it's important that you know and realize that God can meet you in your present situation. Oh, yeah. No matter what you're facing, no matter how difficult or hard. Y'all, there are people around us. I have friends, close people in my life whose marriages are combusting, whose lives are falling apart. And it all points back to our hope in Jesus and that he can redeem, restore, free, and rebuild. Wow. He's done it in our lives over and over.
That was in our wedding vows. That line that you just shared was in my wedding vows to you.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
That's pretty full circle. I'd love to get those down and read them. We have them in the box, right? I'd love to read those on another episode, but
that's our prayer for this, is that it would fall on the ears of someone who in any way, shape, or form, maybe you're a mother who needs some encouragement in parenting.
Maybe you're a pastor.
Maybe you're a pastor.
Going through secret sin.
Yeah. And you're like, how do I bring this out into the light? Maybe you are the collateral damage, and maybe you've been wounded by a leader, or you've been wounded by your spouse.
Maybe you're a content creator who is in front of thousands of people, but on the inside, you're so alone and broken and feel like you have no one to turn to.
Yeah.
These are the stories for you.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, if this is, I'm so churchy. If this has ministered to you, will you like and subscribe?
Oh my God.
No, if this has resonated,
I'm about to take over.
If this has resonated with you, like and subscribe.
Yeah. And follow along on our other social channels.
Yeah.
We'll link them here, but we have so much.
Yeah,
we have so much to discuss, and we're really excited
that we're ready to pour out.
Yeah, we're really excited to share it with you and just bring you along into what we've been through, but also what we're going through right now. We just pray that you can relate to it in some way and apply it to your life. And
that's right.
That's it.
Laugh a little, maybe cry a little.
Yeah.
But most importantly, love Jesus.
It's going to be good.
All right, y'all. See you next time.
Be blessed. Don't stress.
What was it? Give God your best. I used to tag that on to everything and be blessed, not stressed. Give God your best. Good Lord.
Oh, bye.